What is good? Today we're going to react to a video by Just Stop. Go like, subscribe, all that good stuff. The endings of Death Note. How one difference shapes a series. Expect a ton of Death Note videos. Obviously, I'm reacting to these a way in the past because we haven't even posted on YouTube yet. I wanted to finish Death Note before I posted it on YouTube, just to be sure that I wasn't going to stop it again. But yeah, amazing anime, and now we're going to be reacting to a ton of videos. I'm also going to do a tier list. Anyway, let's get into this.
I'd think it would be obvious considering the title and all, but the YouTube comment section isn't the brightest of these kinds of things, so yeah. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. Death Note. Most of us already know what the hell this is. High schooler Light Yagami finds a notebook dropped by a wandering god of death named Ryuk that allows him to kill people in any way he wants, as long as he has their name to write and a specific image in his mind. As a smart kid with a vision in mind for what can be done using the Death Note, Light then sets out on a quest to purge the world of all evil to become the ruler of a purer society, adopting the pseudonym of Kira as detectives and special organizations try to catch him all along the way. But you already probably know at least that much, right? Death Note is, after all, such an easy to get into psychological thriller of a series that even people who don't generally like anime and manga can get into it with no problem. It has phenomenal art, iconic music, a story with
I really disagree that this is an easy to get into show. I feel like that is it easy to get into? I guess just the idea of the cool idea that you could tell someone, hey, there's an anime, a guy writes in a book and they die. Yeah, I guess like the plot. No, I'm not on about me, but I'm not on about the dub. I don't care about the dub. I was on about just in general. Like, I feel like there are other animes that are easier to get into. Dr. Stone. Something like Dr. Stone is an amazing like anime, easy to get into. I don't know, it matters what the type of person you're talking to is, right? If I'm talking to someone younger, I'm gonna be like, yo, go watch Dr. Stone. It's about an anime. The whole world gets petrified except one guy and he's a genius. Do you know what I mean? I guess if you're talking to like an unk or an older person or someone who's more mature, I guess Death Note would be perfect then. I still think AOT's the GOAT, because that's what got me into anime, so I don't know.
Twists and turns constantly shaking up the viewer's perception of the world, and of course, the characters. Whether it's the carefree, bipolar personality of Ryuk, the calculative, unconventional approach taken by the investigator known as L, or the near insane obsessiveness displayed by the other main Death Note user in the series, Misa, they're all certainly entertaining in their own way.
Vinland Saga is a great first anime, and I'll tell you why. Because Vikings are already a massive thing in like casual media, so you can tell someone, hey, there's this anime about Vikings, and they're going to be like, oh, Vikings are cool. Do you know what I mean?
But what really makes them all shine
even
brighter are the relationships to the main man. Light Yagami is probably one of the most intriguing characters in manga and anime, making his way through the entirety of the series off nothing but his own wit, charm, and ability to deceive others. His constantly shifting relationship with L over the course of the series is one of the most suspenseful, well-crafted, and not to mention memorable dynamics in anime, pitting two incredibly different people against each other that partially see the intellectual fight they're having as a sort of game, neither wanting to lose or reveal their hands until the moment of truth. Now, in my opinion, after L was defeated by Light and his successors Nier and Mello came into the picture to finish what L started, I think the manga did take a slight downward tilt in overall quality while I was reading. I don't know, it just felt like an extension brought about so that the series would be able to end with Light's defeat, but even so, I do think the way Nier went about finally beating Light was creative and that the ending of the series itself felt satisfying.
Exactly what I said. Somebody liked it, I like this guy. Exactly what I said. The lead up to the end didn't really hit, but the end was just a good ending. Exactly what I said.
Just one thing people who only read the manga or only watch the anime might not know, however, and that's that each version of the series has a similar but also completely different ending. You probably already know that if you read the title before clicking, but Shut up. Seriously though, what I find the most interesting about these two endings is that they're both great in my opinion, but the messages and portrayals of characters they give couldn't be more different, basically giving a completely different mood as the series comes to an end. But for me to get into that, first I'll have to tell you about the original manga chapter where the story of Light Yagami came to an end. Giving some setup here, Light has been backed into a corner after inadvertently—
Wait, the manga has a different ending than the anime?
admitting to the police group he's been working with and Nier that he's Kira, only finding out afterwards that his plan has fallen through thanks to Nier's foresight about how Mikami, one of Kira's followers, would act, his own ego being Light's undoing. With nowhere left to go, Light confesses and gives a speech about his grand plan, trying to kill Nier with the last piece of notebook he has before being shot by Matsuda, one of the police members he worked with. This is where the big defining moment comes in. Having nowhere left to run, every plan failed, every other follower gone or dead, his only current one present renouncing Light after seeing him in such a vulnerable state, the only option he has left is to beg. Specifically begging to Ryuk,
I want to see something.
Kill everyone against him using his own—
Yeah, I said that. I said, why isn't he asking Ryuk? I said that as well.
To beg. Isn't renouncing Light after—
Wow, why didn't they do this? Bro, what's his name? Matsuma? They showed him, like, looking at Light. Bro, what are you talking about, bro? They showed him, like, looking at Light, but, like, he didn't, like, have an outburst. That would have been so cool to hear him say that sentence. Weird.
Seeing him in such a vulnerable state, the only option he has left is to beg. Specifically begging to Ryuk, asking him to kill everyone against him using his own Deathnote, but Ryuk knows Light's rope has come to an end, so he decides to fulfill the promise he made at the start of their journey together and instead writes Light's name in the Deathnote, killing him of a heart attack 40 seconds later after much more groveling and pleading. What makes this entire ending so impactful is what it says about Light as a character in this instance. Throughout the entirety of the series, Light has been a cool-headed planner with every precaution taken to not be found, carefully setting up every domino to fall exactly how he wants, never removing his poker face. But in this instance, that state of calmness is nothing more than a bluff, so he doesn't even try to continue with it. Every shred of confidence Light had has been taken, so he sees no need to fake his persona any longer, showing the depths of how far he's fallen from his more innocent, almost normal self by now grasping at futile straws, asking those that don't care about human affairs to do his dirty work. Similarly speaking, the fact that he's begging so desperately for it with no shame shows that any dignity he may have had before is gone. He's scared now. Whereas in the beginning, Light didn't fear death and understood there would be no heaven or hell after he died, but a single place everyone went to, now, knowing that death is knocking with no way for him to stop it, having not fulfilled his goals from almost being a bit complacent after the death of L, Light is left fearing the thought of dying as it comes for him. The old Light may have been able to accept it if he had lost, but this Light has given up too much and come too far for him to lose, so when he does, it's almost like he can't accept it and would rather go into denial. This ending for Death Note is very much a bittersweet type of ending for the series. The side of both L and Nier has been able to come out on top, but Light has died after becoming nothing more than a shell of his former self, clinging to non-existent threads after his fortress comes tumbling down and his previous morals or ideals no longer mean anything to him. It shows us the darker side of what Light has become thanks to having the Death Note, a form we've seen him take shape of as the chapters have gone on, and in the end, it leaves us with a sense of longing, wondering if there could have been a better outcome. The anime adaptation of this same ending equally holds weight in what it's portraying, but it also does things a little bit differently. As far as the events of the last episode go, most of what happened in my last description occurs here, but instead of Light's follower Mikami renouncing him after seeing the god Kira in such a wretched state, he kills himself in front of everyone, giving Light the smallest opportunity to try escaping. Running away with nowhere left to go, Light can do nothing—
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I still don't even know what the hell he attacked himself with. Did he just randomly have a dagger? Did he use the handcuffs?
Him after seeing the god Kira in such a wretched state, he kills himself in front of everyone, giving Light the smallest opportunity to try escaping. Running away with nowhere left to go, Light can do nothing but remember his past self as he runs, eventually resting on a staircase knowing Ryuk is going to write his name, dying there with no resistance as the episode comes to an end. What obviously makes this ending so much different from the mangas is the lack of attempted bargaining Light tries to pull with Ryuk before dying. Instead, though Light still begs and pleads while on the ground around for Mikami and Misa, he's able to make it out and run away, knowing he's going to die. The fact he's choosing to run despite it all shows he's somehow trying to run away from the problems that have grown too big for him to confront, knowing if he turns back for even a second, they'll catch back up with him. He's making a futile attempt to get away, and all he can think about as he does this is what he started out as. Knowing his world is crumbling around him, Light can only imagine what life would have been like for him had he never found the notebook to begin with. And it makes him remorseful because he knows it could have been
I kind of like both of them, man.
His life took him from an aspiring high schooler with a penchant for crime solving.
The perfect thing would have been the mix, right? You show Mikami, or whatever his name is, shouting at him, screaming at him, saying what he is. You get him to bargain with Ryu. Then somehow he has his little run and dies like in that sunlight and sees, you know, begs for all his friends and stuff, but
to a washed-up killer
best
with
of both
no one
worlds,
by his
right?
side to help. With that in mind, he heads for a final resting place, seemingly allowing
Well,
Ryu
not
to
his
take
friends.
his life, knowing there's no way for him to get out of the situation. Instead of struggling and crying out for Ryuk to save him, this Light sticks to his calm-headedness, even if it's just a bluff, and lets his own life be taken to try staying true to at least some of the dignity he had in the start. As opposed to the manga ending, this series finale provides a much more somber, gentle end for Light after being defeated. He still gets caught, still has nowhere left to run, and still cries out for those that can't help him anymore.
Man, the voice acting in that
at
scene.
least partially just how much he's messed up since he got the note, and doesn't fight it when Ryu comes.
People will give Matsuda his credit. Nobody talks about Giovanni, my goat. If it wasn't for Giovanni, none of this happens.
To take back what he lent to Light in the first place.
And then he went on to lead Team Rocket. He must have found a Deathnote.
Halfway up a set of stairs in a peaceful, yet also agonizing state, symbolizing how he didn't go to heaven or hell after dying. In the end, I think both endings are equally valid when talking about quote-unquote true endings for the series, but they're also very different conclusions. While both end with sorrow knowing what's become of the main character after all is said and done, one tries to almost uplift the audience with Light's passing, showing a more low-key, subtle ending of him being a sympathetic kid that got corrupted by something he didn't originally ask for, still holding on to a shred of his humanity in death while wallowing in the amounts of despair he caused. Whereas the other is more upfront about how gruesome it is and pays more attention to showing the fall of Light as he disregards everything hoping he can live. They give two completely different feelings and portrayals.
It seems in the anime that they kind of like, I'm gonna do a wrestling comparison here. They kind of couldn't decide if they fully wanted to turn him heel, which is like a villain in wrestling, right? So like they just kind of wanted to like somehow keep this weird like not that he's obviously he had all his crash out and everything like that, but they kind of wanted to try and keep him on like a bit of a higher pedestal than where he was in the manga, which is a bit of a problem. Which I guess is why they didn't show the funeral scene, and I guess is why they didn't get him, you know, begging for Ryuk to help him, and you know, what's his name, saying what he is, what he isn't. Sorry, but I don't mind the running away and you know dying in his own right part as well. So I don't know.
As he disregards
you shouldn't change the manga though. You shouldn't.
They give two completely different feelings and
it's that
portrayals
simple
of the same character as he's entering his final moments, but neither loses the Death Note spirit or feels out of place. The two materials go for separate tones in the end, but they're both equally respectful in how they handle the character and how he's fallen so far from grace. Really, I'd say the most important factor here comes down to the consumer's interpretation of what fits the series' end better. I don't think you can really objectively say one is superior to the other since they both fit so well. Really, it could just have to do with how you, the viewer, feel about the series and what you want of its characters as it enters the final chapter. Do you want Light to have some form of minor regret in his heart while wallowing as he dies due to his own actions? Or is it better if there's no potential for sympathy as the shell of what Light used to be is taken down for good? Each has its merits and downsides depending on what your preference is, so I'm not going to say you should like one more or like another less. It's up to you whether you think one, both, or neither are really good when put in the context of being the show's end. All I want to do when talking about it is to show how drastically two pieces of media can differ in ending, forming unique identities for themselves, while still keeping the core themes of their series intact and satisfying viewers to the best of their ability. Do you agree with what I said? Disagree? Let me know down in the comments.
My problem wasn't with the end. My problem was with like the episodes after L. That was my biggest problem with Death Note. Should have focused on Mello more, and Misa. Should have given us more knowledge about Mello and Nier to really get behind Nier and differentiate him from L. Would have loved to learn a bit more about L as well. Or you could have just learned a bit more about L whilst learning about Nier and Mello. Stuff like that. I also didn't like how dumb the police just suddenly were.
I'll get to read it.
Except,
sorry if this video was shorter than others. I usually don't make many videos of such minimal length,
Aizawa,
but I'm going to be at the beach by the time this video goes up, and I want to leave some content for you guys while I'm away.
Oh, why you got to flex on us, bro? Good video. I'm not going to lie. Good video. Absolutely love this anime. I could watch a ton of videos on this anime, and I probably will. I kind of agree with sticking to the manga, personally. Unless the mangaka himself is like, bro, the ending ain't it. If you want to alter it, so we don't know. I don't know if that conversation happened. If he's like, yo, I want it's okay to alter a few things, or he had a say. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, I'm more of a fan of sticking to the mango and going from there, because it seems like there was some really cool stuff removed, like begging for Ryuk to help him. That should have been in it. I'm surprised that wasn't in it. And it felt a bit weird him not doing that in the anime, because like he's right there, bro. I mean, you've asked, was it Rem? You got Rem to help you. You kind of blackmailed her, but yeah. But I absolutely adored the ending anyway. So it could always have been better because what was in the manga, but I really enjoyed the ending and the anime itself. I still can't believe I stopped this anime, but so glad I went back to it and absolutely loved it.